Okay, let's unpack this. Patient safety is paramount. We all know that.
Yeah.
But the critical question is, how do we truly identify risks before they manifest as incidents? Our deep dive today unpacks a fascinating solution, a groundbreaking framework designed to really transform how we approach safety in healthcare.
Yeah.
Our core source is the 2018 paper Designed for Patient Safety, a systems-based risk identification framework by Simsekler, Ward, and Clarkson.
Yeah, and what's truly striking here, I think, is how healthcare, despite being such a safety-critical industry, has historically lagged a bit behind. You look at fields like aviation or the chemical sector, right? They've long embraced these really sophisticated prospective hazard analysis methods. Healthcare, well, it's been surprisingly slow to adopt that mindset, often relying more on reactive methods.
Okay, so reactive methods, you mean things like incident reporting, investigating after something's already happened?
Exactly.
Those have major limitations, right? What are the inherent blind spots there? Where do they fundamentally fall short?
Well, precisely. The challenge lies in things like hindsight bias, and significant underreporting is a huge issue, too. So we're often learning after the fact, which means we're missing crucial opportunities for prevention. It really begs the question, how can healthcare become more predictive and proactive? How do we shift from merely reacting to truly designing for safety?
And that's where this people comes in, their risk identification framework or RID framework. What makes this different? How does it fundamentally change the game for proactive risk identification?
It's a really comprehensive systems-based approach. The goal is to enhance proactive risk identification by effectively sort of amalgamating multiple inputs. It's built on 3 distinct yet interconnected stages. Stage I is system familiarization.
Familiarization.
Yeah, and this isn't just a quick glance. It's about deeply understanding the system, using things like textual descriptions, graphical descriptions, like detailed patient-centered maps, even specific system mapping approaches.
And what truly struck me about that first stage is how it pushes you beyond just the obvious risks. It's not just identifying the known issues, the ones everyone talks about. It forces you to look for those concealed or developing risks, the ones that might be hiding in plain sight.
Exactly. The subtle shifts, the hidden interdependencies that could snowball later.
Right. Plus, it has you consider risk across time, learning from the past, assessing the present situation, and trying to anticipate future changes, like new tech or different procedures coming down the line.
Precisely. So, building on that comprehensive understanding, stage 2 shifts into the active identification of risks phase. Here, brainstorming is absolutely central. The goal is quantity, really. You combine that reactive data, what you have learned from past incidents, with proactive methods. As the research emphasizes, quantity kind of breeds quality when it comes to risk identification. Get it all out there first.
Get it all on the table, okay? And then stage 3.
Stage 3 is presentation of risks. This is where clarity becomes key. It forces you to structure, to really distill each risk you've identified into 3 core components.
Okay, what are those?
First, the hazard. So literally, what's the adverse event that could happen? Second, the potential cause, the how or why it might go wrong, what could lead to it. And third, critically, the potential effect. So mapping out who or what is directly impacted or at risk.
That structured approach sounds like it prevents ambiguity later on, making sure everyone understands the risk in the same way.
Exactly. It's all about making sure those identified risks are clearly understandable and, importantly, actionable. Helps avoid misinterpretation when you get to actually mitigating them.
The framework sounds incredibly thorough on paper, really robust. But the true test is always in the field, isn't it? What did they actually discover when they applied it in a real healthcare setting?
Right. So they rigorously evaluated the RID framework at a gastroenterology unit in Cambridge University hospitals. They had participants like nurses, managers, even a consultant physician involved. And the feedback was generally very positive. They found it, pretty easy to use and remarkably useful.
Useful how? Did it actually uncover more risks?
Oh, definitely. In one case study they identified a staggering 120 risks. 120. And the participants felt strongly that they just wouldn't have found that same comprehensive list using their existing methods alone.
Wow, 120. That's like finding a whole hidden inventory of potential issues you maybe didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
It's almost mind-boggling. So what does this all mean for you, the listener? How does this shift our thinking from just reacting to maybe proactively shaping a safer environment?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, it fundamentally challenges that sometimes ingrained assumption that incidents are somehow inevitable rather than preventable. It changes the conversation, doesn't it, from who's to blame after something happens to How can we design this system for absolute safety from the start? This isn't just about a new process. It feels more like a blueprint for re-engineering the very culture of safety, moving beyond just, a risk bureaucracy.
Yeah, this deep dive really highlights the power of looking at problems through that system's lens. You can imagine applying this kind of mindset to your own field, whatever it might be.
And I think the critical question that emerges from this for everyone listening is this: what concealed or developing risks, those hidden ones, might you uncover in your own daily environment, your own work? If you adopted a more proactive, a more structured approach like this RID framework?
Hmm. Definitely food for thought. Thanks for exploring these insights with us today.